Hello again, and so this week we've had 2 tier, free gear, no beer leaves your granny in fear. Keir Starmer doing an about turn, which was the political equivalent of someone finally admitting they put the chip pan on the heater and left it there after the house has been full of smoke for years. The whole saga was kicked off by Baroness Casey, a no-nonsense investigator who produced a damning report, yet to be seen, criticising local authorities and police who had blinkered themselves from the problems of these child rape gangs for years, presumably because of maintaining community cohesion. Diversity is our strength, remember. She pointed out there was a real problem with how data was collected, or should I say not collected, and a culture of institutional denial had left some horrific crimes to be swept under the carpet. As we know, Starmer was initially against an inquiry, branding anyone who wanted a full-scale inquiry as being on a far-right bandwagon. His excuse was that Professor Alexis Jay's earlier investigation was enough. He virtually said, "We've already looked under a carpet in leafy suburbia and we can find no link between racially driven Pakistani Muslim rape gangs and the area. So all areas must be the same." As if child exploitation is something you can just cross off a list. It says it all for me about Starmer. But then as pressure mounted from opposition MPs, they've got a bloody cheek. They pooped their pants when it came to taking on the bad radical elements of Islam, and furious public outcry, and even Elon Musk getting involved. Why wouldn't he? Starmer had a rethink. When Case's audit clearly linked men of Pakistani Muslim origin and exposed systematic cover-ups, ignoring it became impossible, especially with concerns over social unrest. So after years of dithering and hand-wringing and cover-ups and ignoring what was in front of their faces, Starmer declared, "All right then, let's have an inquiry." He says it's about pragmatism now. But most of us know it's about political survival, because nothing motivates a psychopathic politician more than the thought of losing votes. Meanwhile, critics are quite rightly, in my opinion, calling him out for being reactive instead of proactive. The inquiry won't try and reinvent the wheel, but coordinate local investigations better. And it's going to be independent, apparently. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the Muslim Council of Great Britain are chairing it, if previous independent investigations are anything to go by. For many, demonic figure, Yvette Cooper, Home Secretary, has promised tougher laws on child exploitation, tougher laws for child rape, stopping offenders claiming asylum, stricter taxi licences, and better sharing between agencies, just like they're doing with France to stop the boats. What could go wrong? Because who doesn't love more bureaucracy, right? Roughly translated, she's going to do sod all. Because in reality, we don't need tougher laws, they're already there. We need people, we need police, we need politicians who aren't scared to take on an ideology that have got a terrible radical element, that get a little bit stabby and a little bit beheady every time someone says something or does something they don't like. A violent element that the police and politicians are scared to death of. Diversity is our strength. Starmer's trying to defend his record when he was head of the Department of Public Prosecutions. He keeps bringing up this case that he prosecuted with the Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs. He says the first prosecution of these people was under my watch. What he doesn't say is about all the other cases that weren't prosecuted. Some only being prosecuted now. Now we know that when he was head of the DPP, he didn't see files, like the Savile file. It wasn't high profile enough for him. That just got put across the desk and he never knew anything about it. Same with a lot of these grooming files. If you've got 20, 30 men of a certain origin in a certain town raping kids of another ethnic origin, why would it be brought to your attention? Starmer knew nothing about it. Same as he knows nothing about Ukrainian rent boys or or general deviancy. But it's hard to forget that he once dismissed calls for an inquiry as a far-right bandwagon, which sounds less like leadership and more like someone who helped to cover up and is just waiting for it to all blow over. The inquiry itself is to be independent and judge-led. I hope it's not the guy from the Lucy Connolly trial. With the power to call witnesses, and the National Crime Agency will be involved to help track down suspects. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they've nicked half of their own in the first week. If it's a genuine inquiry, there's going to be senior police nicked, there's going to be senior politicians nicked, there's going to be senior councils, particularly those in Rotherham and Oldham and places like that. They're all going to be nicked. So I think we're going to need by-elections for councils and for parliamentary seats. If it's a genuine inquiry, they're going to go down like a house of cards. At least this time it looks like they mean business, and I'm guessing that's all it'll be. They'll look like they mean business, because psychopathic criminals look after their own. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think. That's why I do these, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye for now.